Your voice, your opinion, your community. Fact TV, free speech, protected.
Is there more to life than shopping and cheerleading?
Was that Ben Affleck playing basketball?
And should the pretty blonde teenager go into the cemetery with the old man who keeps watching her?
Oh, this is more on Gory Storytime.
Warning. Gory Storytime is a horror movie review show by a son and his dad who thought that letting his 5-year-old watch scary movies was acceptable. If you are offended by horror or talk about blood and gore by a child, or if you don't want horror movies from the 60s through today spoiled, then there is a remote stuck in your couch cushion next to potato chip crumbs. Use it. And of course, parental discretion is advised.
Why? You didn't use any.
Shut up and start the show.
Welcome to Gory Storytime. I'm your host, Jason.
I'm his co-host and his father, Craig, and this is the show where we review normally straight-up horror movies, but this is the 4th week in a row that we are doing something a little bit different. It's introduction to horror is basically the topic, where these are movies you can let your children watch that may get them interested in the horror genre as a whole. So far we've done what? Ghostbusters,
Teen Wolf,
Last
Little
week
Shop of
we did Little
Horrors.
Shop of Horrors, and then this is
This
the
week
4th.
we're doing
Buffy
the Vampire Slayer.
And we're not going to comment on the stuff coming out about Joss Whedon being a dink.
Yeah, because it's not our place, really.
It-
Was I on
This
set?
wasn't
Do
directed
I
by
know
him,
what
he
I
wrote
lo-
it.
Right.
and he wasn't happy with it, so maybe that'll make it better for people. I don't know.
Whatever.
The point is, we're doing Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and this is definitely one of those movies you can let a kid watch. It's got some creepier stuff.
Certainly.
What did we see it listed as? It was comedy, action, and horror
Yeah.
were the categories it was listed under. So, I mean, it really works for what we're saying because it doesn't go too hard edge for a younger audience.
No. And that's why it stuck to a PG-13.
Yeah. But anyway, the basic premise is there's this girl, Buffy Summers. She is a cheerleader. She's kind of the ditzy blonde, traditional ditzy blonde characterization that they use in movies. Oh my God, really? That kind of thing.
Right.
The California.
Yeah. And then Donald Sutherland comes along.
Yeah, as a creepy old man who keeps watching her. And he says, hey, I'm the Watcher.
Right.
Which explains why he was watching her, not
yeah.
because she was, a pretty young blonde thing.
Right. And he says, hey, Buffy, you're the chosen one. Come fight the dead for me.
Yeah, basically, the premise is she's ever since there's been vampires, there's been a slayer. She is the next one in line, and the next one gets their turn as a slayer when one dies. So one had recently died, now it's her turn. And that's it. It's her having to kill vampires as a cheerleading California blonde kind of ditz.
Yeah.
That's,
Yeah.
So let's roll that trailer so people can see what we're talking about.
I just met this girl named Buffy. I'm Pike.
Pike isn't a name, it's a fish.
I liked her even though she seemed kind of flaky. But as it turns out,
You have been chosen, Buffy,
To do what?
to stop the vampires.
Does Elvis talk to you?
when things started getting weird around here.
Are we having a nightmare?
You threw a knife at my head.
And you caught it.
She was the one person I could really count on. kill him a lot.
Hi.
Hi. What are you doing here?
What am I doing here? I'm saving your butt.
That is a bad guy. Can we go, please?
The Slayer is unmasked. Let's finish it.
I think this relationship has potential.
Hi. How's it going?
You're obviously having a bad hair day.
If she can just get rid of those other guys in her life. Stab him in the heart!
Christy Swanson.
I am so sure.
Donald Sutherland. Paul Rubens. With Rutger Hauer and Luke Perry.
Buffy, you're not like other girls.
Yes, I am.
Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
I didn't even break a nail.
Directed by Fran Rubel Kazooie.
All right. Well, that's...
I mean, that does it.
It showed quite a bit. There's a couple things that I wish it didn't, but they did it so fast that it's not going to spoil anything, so not too bad for the trailer.
Not too bad.
But before we get into the behind-the-scenes information, we got to make our fat stacks of cash. And how do we do that around here? Well, I'll explain. Because the show is so popular on a channel that's watched by, millions and millions of viewers here in Bellows Falls, sometimes there's someone watching on Facebook. Your girlfriend's here. She's not currently watching.
Yeah.
Your mom has known that you've done this since 2014. She was
on 4 episodes, and we didn't watch those either.
Yeah, she didn't even watch those back because she's embarrassed that she was on them. But anyway, in reality, we're super famous and have people throwing themselves at us all the time
Just
to
fat
advertise their
stacks of
products.
cash.
Ads is what I'm talking about, of course. So these are the companies that backed up a Brinks truck full of cash and said, please, we beg you, advertise our things on your show for this week. Gory Storytime is brought to you by Old Teens Casting. We're a casting agency that specializes in hiring actors and actresses between ages of 20 and 35. As you know, most teenagers on TV and in movies are portrayed by much older actors because we may need to have them work long hours that children aren't allowed, use language that's not appropriate for children, and most importantly, we might need to see a 16-year-old character's boobs without breaking any laws of the country. So, come on down to Old Teens Casting today and audition to be a teenager again, if only on screen.
All right. And by Horrortree, the book of poetry written from the perspective of a character in a monster movie. Here are a couple of examples. First, a haiku. Gigantic lizard stomping through the city streets. Oh no, not again. One more quick example. You come to my bed. I close my eyes tight. You inhale my scent and moan in delight. My body tenses as your mouth insists. As hard as I can, I try to resist. You hungrily take me. Nothing I can do. I have no control whenever I'm with you. You swallow it down, sticky, warm, and sweet. My lover, my passion, my vampire freak. That's Horrortree. Look for it today.
All right. I like that they gave some examples so people would know what they were in for.
Yeah.
All right. Anything before we get into the behind-the-scenes info?
As difficult as it is, find your way a way to watch this movie.
I mean,
we didn't answer the questions from the beginning of the show.
Holy crap, that's true. In
Easy
order,
enough.
Go back and rewind your television, which is amazing that you can do back when, or if you're watching on YouTube, you could always just skip
They
back.
did that in my time, so.
Yeah, the YouTube, but. Oh, you mean the rewind?
Rewinding TV? That's in my time.
Like, when you were younger, they didn't even have that.
Right.
The point being, rewind back and compare these answers. Actually, yes. Actually, yes. And actually, yes.
Okay. Now, on with the show.
Wow, I can't believe
we went that far.
You know what? I absolutely can believe and do believe because we've done it before.
I mean, we fluffed the beginning already, so.
Yeah.
So the meat and beef? Okay. In the original version of the script, Merrick Donald Sutherland's character, committed suicide to escape being turned into a vampire by Lothos, who wanted to know the Slayer's identity so he could dispatch her. It is this version that was restored in the Buffy origin comic.
Screenwriter Joss Whedon was so frustrated how much of his vision was being mishandled and how much was being rewritten, he left the set production and never came back.
Jeez. Despite claiming he was cut from the movie, Seth Green does appear in it, although it is just for 3 seconds, and for 2 of them, he is seen from behind. He is the short, red-haired vampire that gets kicked by Buffy outside the gym when a group of vampires, including him, are taunting her. You can recognize him by his haircut alone.
And the funny thing is, he came back in the series, but not as the same character because he was not a vampire in the series. Joss Whedon's original vision of the script was released in a comic form as The Origin.
Screenwriter Joss Whedon found Donald Sutherland extremely difficult to be around. Sutherland rewrote most of his dialogue and scenes, often making the scenes incomprehensible, in Whedon's opinion. Whedon praised Sutherland's abilities as an actor, but called his behavior rude and Sutherland a dick.
The original script by Joss Whedon was heavily rewritten to make this movie lighter. In the original, Buffy burns down the school gym where the dance is being held in an effort to destroy the vampires. In Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the series, 1997, this fact is referred to several times as the series as a spin-off of the original unproduced screenplay rather than the movie.
Ben Affleck played an opposing team's basketball player who gives the ball away to a vampire player.
On March 4th, 2019, the day Luke Perry died, Joss Whedon tweeted, "The first time I met Luke Perry, we talked about what kind of movie we wanted Buffy to be. I asked if he had ever seen Near Dark, and he gave me a 'how dare you, sir' look, and I knew we'd get along. Funny, committed, and always gracious. He shouldn't be gone."
Wow. Theatrical movie debut for Hilary Swank,
who became the next Karate Kid, and there's a few other things. David Bowie, Mick Jagger, and Carrie Elways were set to make cameos as vampires, but these were cut due to time and budgetary constraints.
Buffy's last name is never mentioned in the movie. Not until the release of the show was she referred to as Buffy Summers.
I still refer to her as that just because that's the character's name.
For how many years she was Buffy Summers?
Alyssa Milano was originally set to play Buffy, and then I probably would now not enjoy the movie as much.
Yeah. Screenwriter Joss Whedon maintains that this movie should be considered standalone, and that any of the events, characters, or character traits in this movie should not be referred to as canon for the television series of the same name.
And that's because Joss Whedon is an idiot.
Yeah.
The violin medley played by Lothos near the end of the movie is from Schumann's Piano Quintet in E-flat. Who cares?
Nobody. Seth Green and Chi Moy Lo are the only actors who appeared in the movie and the show.
The role of Amelin, Paul Rubens, was written to be a female character and was going to be played by Joan Chen. When she pulled out of the role, it was rewritten for a male character.
Okay. Buffy says one of her life goals is to marry Christian Slater. In Whedon's original script, the celebrity she wanted to marry was Charlie Sheen. Swanson and Sheen starred in The Chase.
A couple years later. Okay. Buffy is a senior at Hemery High School in this movie, 2 years older than Buffy from the series, who starts at Sunnydale as a sophomore.
In this movie, Buffy defines her life aims as graduate, go to Europe, marry Christian Slater, and die. Throughout the Buffy the Vampire Slayer show and Angel, she does indeed achieve a score of 4. Although she didn't marry Christian Slater, Buffy did graduate, she did go to Europe, and she died twice.
Buffy's dress boots for the dance were white high-top boxing boots with stripes of white muslin for laces.
And Rotten Tomatoes,
it says that the people that have voted on it, about 43% of the people like
gave it
this
a positive review. And 36% of the critics gave it a positive review.
Now, understand that doesn't, and just for people that don't know, it doesn't mean that out of 100, it's a 43 movie, meaning it's,
that means
bad. It means 43% of people who voted
gave it at least a 7 out of 10.
Yeah. It's nuanced, but it is a difference.
Yeah.
Anything? And what did you say?
36%. Yeah.
What was your favorite scene, or do you want to go least favorite first?
We can go least favorite, and you should go first.
Okay. My least favorite is the fact that they had the vampires fly, and that's one of the biggest differences between the movie and the series, is they never have them fly in the series. And having watched all of the seasons of that and Angel, it kind of bugs me seeing them fly, because I'm like, that's not something that they did in this universe. And I do consider them the same, and Joss can kiss both of my cheeks. Not both sets, both of the one set.
Yeah, gross. That's tough. Least favorite?
Yeah.
I guess the vampires didn't have some cool death, right? In the movie, they didn't have a cool death. In so many vampire shows and movies, they turn into dust, or in Blade, they were
digital.
Kinda. Right? And in True Blood, they explode violently
or burst into flames. And,
right.
Yeah. Just having them kind of lay there with a stake in their chest is...
And then they walk away, and you walk away from the scene, and that's the end. They got stabbed, and they're now just a dead person on the ground. Even the show, they turned into dust.
Yeah, and it looked pretty sweet.
It does. So I guess that'll be my least favorite.
All right. Well, my favorite is probably, and this is where it's one thing that this has over the series. You can see Christy Swanson's face as she's doing most of these moves. When she kicks someone, when she's practicing,
she did a lot of her stunts.
Punching bag or whatever.
She runs,
see her
she
face,
kicks.
you see she's doing it. A lot of the lands, and with the series,
absolutely,
there's a lot of cutaways where you just see her from the waist down, so you can't tell it's not her, or it's like, oh, here's, you see her feet leave the ground and land on the other side of the gate or whatever.
Right, but it's like, no.
It's so obviously not her, and in this, they made sure you saw her face as she's punching and kicking the bad guys.
Right.
And that's nothing against Sarah Michelle Gellar. I loved her as Buffy, I really did.
Right.
But it's just one more step to make something so unrealistic seem more realistic.
Very much more grounded, even though...
It helps.
It's like, no, really? Of course the Californian teenage blonde girl's not going to go and fight vampires. Of course that's not going to happen. But if it was going to happen, that's the way it would happen.
Yeah. It just... I like the realism. So what's your favorite?
Paul Rubens. Okay. His entire character is just amazing in this movie.
And very funny.
His lines, the way he says all of them.
And spoiler alert for those who haven't seen this movie from 1992 here in 2021, but his death scene is the best.
And it continues after the movie is over.
Yeah, the stake is in his heart, and he's doing the very...
over the top.
Oh, you got me. They showed a little bit in the trailer, and it very easily could be horrible. And he does it with just the right amount of overacting on purpose to have it actually work. It's funny how sometimes the same joke doesn't work in other things. I've seen it in other things not work. He does it just right. And this was also the first thing he did coming back after the scandal of him in the adult movie theater getting caught doing stuff and losing his show.
His arm gets cut off, and he says the line, "Kill him a lot." And it's like, yes, kill him a lot. That is great.
Yeah, I mean, Paul Rubens' character is a great character.
That is flawless.
Yes, and that death scene is amazing.
And just when you thought it was over
think-
because the movie's credits rolled,
It cuts back to him
he
still
pops
going,
back
"Ugh,
up. He pops back up, still freaking out.
He's doing it way better than we're
Oh
explaining.
yeah. Because we're not acting.
On a scale of
1 to 10.
That's what we should. How did we not think of that before now for a show about horror movies?
Since I was 13, we've been doing this show, and we didn't think of that. All right.
On a scale of 1 to 10, I like that.
Okay, so on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm gonna go with like a 9.
Yeah, I'm gonna tie you with a 9. I mean, there's very little to complain about, no matter what Joss Whedon says, and considering the things he's accused of at this point,
The fact that he doesn't like it helps.
yeah. I mean,
So
he made it so that Zack Snyder's version of Justice League is actually better than his. And he did well with Avengers,
And
but
Avengers
somehow he
2.
came over to DC and screwed it up.
well, that's because he was starting with another guy's movie. If he started from the ground up, he might have made it good.
That's possible. That is possible. But anyway, so 9's...
9, yeah.
And we definitely recommend, if you haven't seen it, do see it.
Yeah, not
And
36 or 43.
we got one thing left. Go over to the side of the screen here, and oh, look at that.
Yeah, it's the same stuff as every week. Fact TV. You could watch this show on Fact TV channel 1076, Thursdays at 8:30 p.m. and Fridays at 7 p.m.
And you can like us on Facebook. And like I always say, don't just mean like Gory Storytime. I mean, you can, but also you can like Fact TV. I like a little co-advertising here.
Yeah, because
And you
I
can
mean,
watch
without
it live
them, we
stream on
wouldn't.
them. And if you're live streaming, hey, how's it going?
And if you're not, how'd you hear that?
Unless it's on TV.
Right. Who watches this channel?
Is it Friday at 7?
Is it?
Then maybe that, well, almost 7:30 at this point. Aha! Anyway.
You can go to factdate.com and watch a bunch of the back episodes of this, all the other shows that they have, old shows that we did, new shows, blah, 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 everything that they do on this channel. You could go up and look at on their
And you also can go to,
website.
I believe it's called youtube.com. And if you search for Gory Storytime, there's some episodes from the very beginning, some early episodes. There's other things. Go to Juggalo Jake's
All
page
one word,
on
all
YouTube,
lowercase.
all one word, and it's basically got a bunch of stuff. It's got our 100th episode spectacular, which we're coming up on 200, and we've got some plans. We've
Yes,
actually started
yes.
filming some stuff, so
Yes.
be prepared for number 200.
Yes, absolutely.
And the last thing,
Yeah, you can follow us on Twitter. I'm at Jiggly Firm Brain.
where he only tweets out things that I say offhanded. It has nothing to do with the show. Sometimes it is horror movie based, but
Yeah.
it's just random awful things. And if you don't have a sick sense of humor, some of the things are going to be bad.
'Cause there's no
And
filter.
He loves to also give very little context for most of the quotes.
Yeah, because they sound worse that way.
Yes. And I'm at Craig Jakes, all one word, all lowercase.
But yeah.
That's about it. And
So go get you a way to watch this movie. Absolutely do
it's
that.
on Stars, so if
It's
you
on
have
Stars.
Stars,
If you have Stars, it's there. And if you want it on like DVD, good luck. But
yeah, it's out of print, but you know, you can find copies some places. I'm sure if you
yeah, you
Google
know,
it.
like buried in the ocean or something. I don't know. They're hiding them all.
I
but-
looked and there's a Blu-ray for like $8.
But until next time, I'm your host Jason,
I'm his co-host and Father Craig,
and sweet dreams.